are a parent and your child vanished into thin air or what seems like thin air, would you help look for them or give details about where they might be, or just simply act like nothing ever happened and they never existed? This is the case of Bobby Boyes, and this is the question that his sister has had for almost a century later. If you want to know more about this case, please continue watching.
What has been issued.
And it's just so many questions that I have.
Memorial sign
It makes it really hard.
is on the run.
And I bet he would run after what he's done.
A number of people.
The FBI is offering a reward. What was the order of events?
Never stop looking.
Police are now questioning a number of people.
What if I told you that there is a young boy that disappeared the day after Christmas, 1963, and his sister, Joy Lee, has been looking for answers ever since, almost to the point where she says that her family, which are her two surviving brothers, they have basically been estranged from her, and it seems like no one ever talks about her brother that went missing the day after Christmas in 1963, and their parents have since passed away, and it is suspected that maybe, if not both of the parents, at least the father had something to do with his son's disappearance, because when the father was given a lie detector test, it showed that he was deceptive on two questions. One was, do you know what happened to your son, Bobby Boyes, and did you have anything to do with his disappearance? He showed deception on those two questions, but his mother, she passed her lie detector test with flying colors. Now, we all know that that does not mean that you possibly didn't have anything to do with it or are innocent, because there are ways to beat a lie detector test. I'm not going to go into details on how that can be done, but there are ways to do that. And so I feel like both of them, at least one of them, definitely the father, had something to do with his son's death. And if he did, and if he knew anything, like I said, he took it to the grave. It is said that on Christmas Day, Bobby only got a watch for Christmas, and he didn't want to take that watch off the whole entire day. And so that is to say that he loved that watch. And I don't know if he received any other presents, but from the article that I've read and the video that I watched, he only got that watch for Christmas, so I don't know if there were any other presents given to him. But nevertheless, it was said that he loved this watch very much and he did not want to take it off that whole day. So that lets you know that he was just really enthused and proud of this gift. So that is understandable, because like any gift that a child might get, if they love it, they don't want to put it down or take it off the entire day. So that is understandable. But where the trouble comes in here is that 2 days after Bobby was missing and after Christmas, his father shows up with that same exact watch on. Now, if your child had this watch on the day that he went missing, how did you end up with this watch? Unless you were with him when he disappeared, which in turn makes you have something to do with his disappearance, because lo and behold, you end up with this watch the same exact watch that your son was given for Christmas. And I know what some people are thinking. Well, what if he had a watch just like that? No, this was the exact same watch that Bobby was last seen wearing. And so that leads me to believe, just like it leads Bobby's sister, Joy, to believe that her father had something to do with Bobby's disappearance. I made a mistake in the last statement that I made when I was saying that it was 1962 on Christmas Day, but it was actually 1968 Christmas Day that Bobby Boys went missing. And like I said before, his mother, Jane Boyes, took and passed her polygraph test with flying colors. But Bobby's father, Richard Boyes, did not pass his lie detector test. And like I said, the two questions that he was deceptive on was, did you have anything to do with Bobby's disappearance? And do you know what happened to Bobby? And he showed deception on those two questions. And shortly after Bobby's disappearance, Jane and Richard separated, and she took her kids along with a newborn that they had just had and relocated to San Diego, California. Now, Joy, Bobby's sister, who was only 3 at the time of him disappearing, she said that her father had nothing to do with them after that at all. She said she went to visit him once when she was about 17, and he had 2 stepchildren and 2 biological children with his new wife. So he basically went on and started a whole nother family with another woman. But that's neither here nor there. So when she saw him, she, I guess she talked to him, and it didn't go as she planned, because I guess she wanted answers that he did not want to give her. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Now, the father, Richard Boyes, was investigated and looked into as far as his son's disappearance, and there is no evidence linking him to this disappearance, but it's my suspicion, just like it is the detective who's working this case, Detective Hunt. He says that it has always been his suspicion, reading through this case, that the father was somehow involved with his death. Because one, how can you simply appear 2 or 3 days later wearing a watch that your missing son had just gotten for Christmas, and he didn't want to take it off that whole day? So how did you come up with that watch? And 2, why is it that you failed the most 2 important questions on your lie detector test of what happened? Do you know what happened to Bobby? And did you have anything to do with his disappearance? How could you fail those 2 questions, sir, if you are innocent? And how could you have that watch if you are innocent? Now, I know that I've heard many killers and serial killers say that, or it is a known fact, that they like to take trophies of their crimes, like things on their victims' body, or things of that nature, like jewelry, even in some cases hair, which is really strange because that's DNA evidence basically that you're carrying around with you or have in your possession as a souvenir from your crime. And this is honestly, I believe, what happened in Bobby's case. His father could possibly be the killer, and he has trophies of his crimes. But like I said, if he did anything to Bobby, he took his knowledge of what happened to him to the grave, and to this day he still has not been found. But this is what he would look like now at the age that he is, which would be about 56 or so. or maybe a little older than that, but this is what he would look like now on the right and what he looked like when he went missing in 1968. So the police are urging that if anyone knows anything about the disappearance or the whereabouts of Bobby Boyes to please call the Maryland Police Department. And if you also know anything and you do not live in Maryland, you can submit a tip to the FBI tip line at fbi.tips.gov, or you can call your local 911 operator. And this story does not just end there, though. It gets a little weirder from there about the watch be in his father's possession 2 or 3 days after his disappearance. The fact that the father failed his polygraph test on the two most important questions. The thing that got this case kind of rolling, sort of, is that when Bobby went missing, he had a pet, I believe it was a pet deer that he I guess that went everywhere with him, and the pet deer, his name was Pete. And they said that what worried, well, the parents or the sister who is the reason for this case being reopened, Joy, said that her parents became worried when Pete came back home, but Bobby was not with him, and that was very unlike Pete, because everywhere Bobby went, Pete went, apparently, and they were never separated. And 9 times out of 10, if a person has a pet with them and that pet returns home and that person doesn't, that means that that person probably is either somewhere injured and they can't move, or they are no longer with us, sadly. And even though it's been almost half a century later, I believe that he could possibly still be out there somewhere, even though he went missing in December and it was cold. And to make matters worse, he was playing with his neighbors. I guess the family had the last name Hintz. He was playing with them, with the Hintz boys, and they were all, I guess, showing like toys that they had gotten for Christmas. And so at the time that he was supposed to come home, which was 4, he did not come. He stayed at their house to play a little bit longer, and his brother walked home. And the mother of the boys that he went to play with, the Hintz boys, said that she watched him leave with his pet deer and walk all the way down the street until she couldn't see him anymore. And then that was the last time their mother, the Hintz boys' mother, saw Bobby. And after that, he hasn't been seen since. So what I'm wondering is, the person who is responsible, did they wait for him to leave and they knew which way he was going home and they abducted him and it went bad, so they had to unalive him, so to speak? Or is it that his father, who is possibly responsible, did he wait for him, unalive him, and hid his body somewhere? And wherever he hid his body, it couldn't have been in any water, and he couldn't have buried him, because at that time, keep in mind, it was Christmas and it was cold and the ground was frozen, so there was no way he could have possibly dug a grave or a hole and put him in there. And maybe, I'm not sure, but if the lake was frozen, he wouldn't have been able to put him in there either, because it's frozen. And the police said that if he were put into water, his body would have washed up, I guess, when the lake thawed out, or at some point, in the warmer months. But his body has never been found or recovered. So that's weird as well. But if his father, Richard Boys, knew anything, he took it to his grave because he died in 1996. And so if he was the responsible party in Bobby's disappearance, he will never see the inside of a jail cell, because of course he's deceased. And if the mother had anything to do with Bobby's disappearance, she is also deceased. She died in 2001, and her daughter says in a video, if I can find that video, I'll put it in here somewhere, or at the end, I'm sorry. Her daughter says that right before her mother passed away, she tried to ask her, like, do you know what happened to Bobby? Did you have anything to do with it? Did dad have anything to do with it? Do you know what happened? And she said that her mother would get like visibly upset. And by this point, she had already had a stroke, so she was basically bedridden and unable to talk, but she could like blink her eyes and, like, I guess like move her head and things of that nature and make noises. But she said that she would get upset, and so she did not get an answer, but she did see that her mother was getting upset, so she didn't want to make the situation any worse, so she didn't ask her about it again. But she says now she regrets that decision because she thinks that her mother may have had some knowledge, if not all knowledge, of what might have happened. But I mean, like everybody else that is looking at this case, like myself, Bobby's sister, and Detective Hunt, we all think the father is to blame because, I mean, obvious reasons which I stated in the earlier part of this video. And I will also link all of the resources that I use in the description box down below, so you can check those resources out for yourself. And it'll also have the numbers of the FBI and the Maryland Police Department that you need to call, and how you can submit a tip online as well, and how you can remain anonymous if you choose to leave a tip or any information that might lead to the whereabouts or recovery of Bobby Boyes. And like I always say, never be afraid to leave a tip, even if you do it anonymously. And if you have a tip that you might think is so small and minute, it could be the smallest thing, it could be the biggest thing. Call and let the police agencies know, because no matter how small a tip is, it can help solve the case of what happened to Bobby Boyes on Christmas Day in 1968. So please do not be afraid to leave a tip, no matter how big or how small, because it can help. But unfortunately, guys, that brings me to the end of today's video. If you like this video, please don't forget to leave me a thumbs up so that it helps circulate through the algorithm and gets people to know about my channel. And that way they can get updates or get informed of these cases, because they might know someone that might know someone that might know something. And please do not forget to leave me a comment down in the comment section below, because I want to know what you think. Even if you have any cases that you would like to recommend, leave them down in the comment section below and I'll check those out. And please do not forget to subscribe. If you are not already subscribed, please make sure you do that before you leave, because that also helps out the channel. But until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.